It was a peaceful Saturday afternoon in Nairobi on July 5th, 1969, when Tom Mboya walked out of Chani's pharmacy along Government Road, now Moya Avenue. Unknown to him, gunmen had been trailing him in a white Mercedes-Benz, and as he bid farewell to his friend, Mrs. Mohini Semi Chani, suddenly, 3 gunshots rang out. The assailants were then seen speeding away from the scene, leaving the 38-year-old Minister of Economic Planning and Development fighting for his life. Mrs. Chani, shocked, held Mboya's head in her arms. With help, she managed to drag Mboya inside the pharmacy. She repeatedly asked him if he was okay, but he could not speak. His arms lifted once and descended slowly, while his head moved once or twice as his eyes fluttered open, yet he remained silent and unresponsive. Shortly after, Dr. Mohammed Rafiq Chowdhury, a family friend, arrived amidst a growing crowd outside the pharmacy. He loosened Mboya's shirt and began administering mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Despite being able to detect the movement of the beating heart, their efforts resulted in little success. After about 20 minutes, which felt like an eternity, an ambulance finally arrived on the scene, now full of shocked onlookers. Mboya's wounded body was carefully lifted and placed inside the ambulance. With sirens blaring, the ambulance rushed towards Nairobi Hospital in a desperate attempt to save his life. Alphonse Ukuku, Mboya's younger brother, was one of the first to arrive at Nairobi Hospital. He watched with bated breath as doctors frantically worked to revive the minister, even resorting to artificial respirators. Sadly, their efforts were in vain, as Mboya's injuries proved too severe. A sense of disbelief and overwhelming grief washed over Okuku as he stood beside his dead brother's hospital bed, tears streaming down his face. One of Kenya's most charismatic leaders was officially dead. The government's pledge to investigate and bring the murderers to justice dominated newspaper headlines as investigations and manhunts were conducted. Finally, 16 days after the murder, amidst escalating riots in Nairobi and Kisumu, Nahashon Jenga was charged with the crime. The murder weapon, a 38 caliber revolver, was discovered inside a briefcase containing 7 unused rounds in his house. The hurried trial and swift sentencing to death by hanging before Justice George Simpson was condemned as a cover-up. Nevertheless, before his execution, Jenga presented a riddle that would come to signify Kenya's political landscape. What about the big man?